Welcome to Deer Feet. I'm Jess.
And I'm Renee.
And we're the Deerfoot Sisters. This week, we're talking about happiness.
Yes.
And positive psychology.
Woohoo! And you know my feelings on the word happiness. You should never put it in a song.
Elaborate, please.
Because every time you sing the word happiness, you just end up singing penis.
Give us an example.
Like, I don't know. What's that Coca-Cola song in the commercial? It's like, shake up the happiness. And then they just like, every time it's on, I'm just like, why want to shake a happy penis?
No, it was the song, was it the song for your wedding, right? There You Are. Is that the song?
For my wedding?
Yeah.
No. That
But
was
the
in Mom's
cousins
wedding.
sang.
Oh, I sang that in Mom's wedding, yeah. I thought you meant that
and
was
the
my wedding
cousins
song.
literally sing it at your wedding.
I thought you meant it was my wedding song, though. And I was like, no, that wasn't my wedding song. Yeah.
So, and how does it go?
It's like,
I'm trying to look it up.
simple happiness.
Oh, yeah.
Of the perfect love we've made. Yeah, so
Every
just be very
time I
wary.
turn around,
Okay,
When
of
I'm
including
lost
happiness
away
in songs.
from-
You can include it in your life. It's just not best sung. It's better said than sung. Best lived, honestly.
Okay, so what does happiness mean to you?
To me, I think it means pretty much what it means to everyone. Just like feeling joy. So actually, the other day, we went to Six Flags Fright Fest. Tim, Finn, and I.
Thanks for clarifying.
Driving
We
home.
did not.
We were driving home, and I was like feeling in a good mood. And I said to Tim, I was like, I'm just like feeling really contented. And he was like,
So simple.
do you mean content? Contented's not a word. So then like today, that was like, okay, so that was this weekend. Then today I texted him a definition comparing contented and content. And I was like, did you think I forgot about this? And knowing that I proved him wrong, that's true happiness right there.
Nice.
Yeah, then he sent me a meme of myself saying that I'm so smart, which I was like, yeah. So there's that.
It makes me laugh because it reminds me of something that I can't tell you about.
Cool. So yeah, we were basically, I mean, I think it's like, I am able to find joy in very little things, which is why Tim tells me I'm simple.
You're a simple girl.
And I told him that's not really the best way to say that. Like, what he's trying to say is like, oh, you find the joy in life's little pleasures. Like, you walk past the spider web that's covered in, like, rain, and you think, wow, look how cool this spider web looks. And then he's like, oh, you're so simple. You're so simple. And I'm like, okay, I think you mean to say, like, I take pleasure in the little things in life, and, like, I find happiness all over, and I find beauty all over.
Yeah.
I don't think you mean, like, I'm simple, but...
Maybe he means you're simple.
I get the sentiment, perhaps, but I don't think that's what he means.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's easy to, like, when thinking about happiness, to just think about feeling joy and feeling contentment and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a whole range of, or branch of psychology that started, I don't know, probably like 15 years ago at this point, maybe 20, called positive psychology. And it's studying like what they're calling happiness, but it's not necessarily just those moments of like feeling happy.
Right.
Like what you consider happy.
So it's like optimism part of it?
Yeah, so I was reading like this one article about it where it's like Positive Psychology UK, I guess, is like a group. So they were saying that there's 3 different levels. So there's the subjective level, which is like the feelings of contentment, like optimism. And we actually went to a cool conference, and we saw someone speak on positive psychology, and he explained like optimism and pessimism. Well, first of all, it was interesting because he said some people are like, I'm not an optimist, I'm a realist, but he was like,
You mean I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist? I don't think anyone says
yeah,
I'm not
whatever.
an optimist, I'm a realist.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist, or whatever. Or they'd be like, you're too optimistic, I'm a realist, and they might just be like, I'm really a pessimist. But anyway, so he was saying like every single thing is reality. It's just that pessimism or optimism is the
lens.
lens through which you view your reality.
Right.
And he also said that optimism is basically like understanding or having the belief and the understanding that things can change, circumstances can change, your feelings can change. And pessimism is like thinking everything is static and everything will be the same forever. So
interesting.
It was like, if you think things can change, then you would believe that things can get better. And I think that's kind of why it's optimistic, because you're like...
But some people like just believe things are going to get worse.
True.
So maybe that's also pessimistic, I would say.
I don't know if that's really pessimistic or if that's...
cynical, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely an optimist.
Yeah.
As I think everyone is. And like people in my life so many times have told me like, oh, you're just like really naive. And I'm like, actually, I'm really not. Like, I've been through a lot of life experiences. Like, it's not like I haven't experienced hardship. I certainly have. And I think if you compared my life to anyone else's, I would have an equal, if not, not I'm saying harder than everyone in the world. But in terms of like where I'm at in my life, I think that I've been through a lot of hard experiences. So it's not really naivety. It's just like...
You mean naivete?
Naivete. It's just a decision that I make to not focus on, not dwell on the bad, because like I would be overrun if that was it. And we've talked before about how like, I just can't handle being around super negative people because it just like really drains me.
Yeah.
But
as I think it does, like it just makes people, it drains anybody. I mean, I guess actually some people, they almost like feed on it and but then they
dark souls.
But then they seem like unhappy most of the time, and it's interesting. But
I think definitely too, like I try to train like the young people in my life, like with Finn, I always try to we try to frame things in a positive way. So like if there is like a setback, I just always try to remind him like how that could be like a good thing instead. And he is pretty optimistic, so I think some of that comes from me. I attribute it to myself.
Yeah.
It's definitely not from his dad. But it just makes your life so much better when you can find the good in a situation. So even like if we're going to like Six Flags, for example, and it's like raining, people might be like, oh my god, it's a rainy day. But I'm always like, hey, that means there's gonna be less lines. We don't have to wear as much sunscreen. I got so sunburned at Fright Fest. Oh my god, I was like a bright tomato. It was so embarrassing. But yeah, like there's always like positives you can find in both situations. So
yeah, true. And then another aspect of the subjective level is flow, which, are you familiar with the concept of flow?
Not really.
So it's essentially like when you're doing something that you really love, or like, I guess you would feel like you love it, but you basically get lost in it. So it's like when you're doing something and then you could be doing it for hours and it feels like minutes.
Okay.
So that's like what is kind of like flow. So for you, like playing Slotomania.
Or like
and I think typically it's like they encourage you to find something that's like building a skill. So like a hobby that you're actually like developing,
like doing
some
creative
kind of skill.
writing, or like
learning
music.
to play guitar, knitting or whatever.
Yeah, that's cool. Making movies, whatever. Podcasts.
Yeah, true. And then there's the individual level, which is essentially like acting like a quote unquote good person. Mm-hmm. So, being forgiving, having perseverance, having the capacity for love.
So those make you a good person?
Those are some of the aspects that it had. What else did it say? Maybe like altruism, or
I think that was the next one.
That more in the next level. Also like having
what's
courage.
This level called? The individual level?
Yeah. So it was like, these are the things that would make a good life and also would be necessary for being a good person. And it would also be like, so they're saying they're finding that like, or that's an aspect of positive psychology, and then they're studying the human strengths and virtues, like those things.
Well, I mean, obviously like the forgiveness is definitely true, because we've talked about holding grudges on this show before. And, I was watching Grey's Anatomy and they were talking about, like, hate. And the daughter was like, my teacher says hating someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, which is, like, something I've heard before, like, similar things. And I'm like, yeah, it's so true. Like, you're really just damaging yourself by holding on to all those negative emotions, especially if you, like, hate or resent someone for something, and they've already moved past that thing. You know, like if it's a breakup, like in Grey's Anatomy, it's like a breakup and she was like mad that he moved on so quickly. Yeah. But it's like, well, then he's obviously not mad. He's like obviously happy and in a good place. So you're really just like damaging yourself.
Yeah.
So you need to just try to forgive. And I feel like, I don't know. I think I have a really high capacity for forgiveness.
I think so.
Do you feel the same about yourself?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I think to myself, like, what is something that someone would have to do that I could never forgive? And I feel like there's very limited things.
Well, because also it's like, it's not like some people just think with forgiveness that it means like you're giving that person a completely blank slate, that's not really what it is. It's like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like they're saying like, oh, you're a sucker if you forgive people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, except that's not it. Like I can forgive you and that doesn't necessarily mean our relationship is repaired or that I like want to interact with you in the same ways. It just means that like I'm not holding on to that past hurt anymore.
Right.
And I've let it go. And I think also like having a little bit of background in psychology and kind of understanding motivations for things, you just learn there's a reason people do things. And generally if someone hurts you, it's most likely because they're damaged in some way.
Right.
And that can give you, I guess, more empathy to kind of say, as much as that hurt me, like, you're obviously more damaged than I am. And as someone who's pretty self-actualized, like, I don't really take things personally. So
yeah. And I mean, like, it's also, I think part of it, too, is we kind of look at it as a way of, like, we also have, like, a growth mindset. So we feel like people always have the capacity for change, too.
Right.
And I think, like, that helps to be forgiving because you can just say, like, well, you can let it go. I don't know. Like, I've just always been, like, a forgiving person. I've never held grudges. I've always just been, like, I'm, like, really just forgiving. Like, I like, never hold grudges about anything. So I'm just, like, I've always easily and quickly forgave people. And then I genuinely just hope, like, they'll learn and become better. Like, right. I never have, like, vengeful thoughts or, like, anything. Yeah. I just, like, am like, I hope you learn and you don't do that to someone else.
I feel like part of that's maybe like my apathy of being like, I don't care if you do something mean because like I have no feelings. So I just don't care regardless.
I don't know if that's it. Like, I mean, I obviously am not apathetic. Like, I am a very emotional person.
And like I am emotional too. Like I have emotions. Like I'm not a sociopath or something. But like I think it's yes, just like I think it's really just is that like I really don't take things personally. Yeah. And I'm not sensitive in that regard.
But I mean, like, some things are personal. Like, sometimes someone is personally hurting you.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, even if they're trying to hurt you intentionally, I'm just like, that's a you problem.
Right.
Like, well, I can see, like, you're not, like, you are obviously just messed up. And, like, yeah. I know as who I am as myself. And, like, sometimes people tell me, oh, you're such a good person. And I'm like, okay, I'm, like, an okay person. Like, I'm a fine person. I don't think I'm, like, a great person. Like, there's so many people in the world who do so much for others and, like, just help in such impactful ways that I don't really see myself in that role. I'm like, I'm also, fine.
Not because you couldn't, because you don't feel the drive. Like, you don't feel like, I want to find a way to, like, make the world so much better.
I mean, like,
you're just
I
kind
would.
Of,
like, I've
you're
thought
fine
about,
with just
like...
helping, like, your more small circle.
Right, and I would be happy to do that. Like, I've thought before about joining the Peace Corps or something like that, you know, but it's just kind of, like, realistically where I'm at in my life, I don't have sort of the time to do all of that, you know, because I spend a lot of time, like, working and helping my family. So, but, like, I do try to be giving of my time and my support to
also,
anyone I know who asks
if
me.
you join the Peace Corps, you're not really making that... Like, you're making an impact,
yes,
but it's also on a small scale.
Yes,
so it's
exactly.
like, you're already doing that with, like, your family
so it's like
and
you
friends
just do it with the
and,
people
like,
you know.
Students.
So I'm like, sure, in that regard, fine. But, like, you know, yeah, I don't consider myself, like, an amazing person or anything. Like,
well, you know Mother Teresa.
Yeah, obviously. But, you know... I don't really know where I was going with that. I think it's, like, ultimately, though, I do just try to, like, help when I can. Yeah. And, like, I guess do as little harm as possible.
But you're also, like, very supportive and, like, you really care about people. And you're, like, a very supportive friend and partner. So I think that's part of it, too. Like, true. Some people just don't...
I'm just so bad about, like, reaching out. Like, I'm not proactively supportive. I'm more the like, if you need anything, let me know, and I will literally be there for you. Like, when I say to people, if you need anything, call me. And then it's like, they always just think that's like a pleasantry. And I'm like, I seriously mean it. Like, if it's like 2 a.m. and you're just like having a terrible time and you like need to call someone and you say, hey, I need you to come over, like, I would.
Yeah.
Like, that's who I am as a person. Right. But like, obviously people don't really do that usually. So like, you
right, because they feel, well, you like been in that situation too. Well, you don't want to put people out. Right,
of course. I'm very much of that vein of not like trying to disrupt other people's lives, but like, I would accept the support when I can.
Yeah, like we were talking the other day about a family member that we have who is whatever. He's like just rude sometimes, and he had like nasty nicknames for you and for our brother that were just like really like picking at insecurities that you had like when you were teens, which is obviously a time where kids are really insecure, really vulnerable emotionally, and just really making like, oh, great pun, like great way to be like a grown man picking at a like potentially vulnerable child. Like, cool, congrats, dude. But he also just does this thing where no matter what accomplishment you have, he finds some way to belittle it.
Right.
So we're just talking about it, and I'm like, I haven't heard him say it in a while, because I really wanted to, like, the next time he does it, to just be like, why do you do that? Why do you feel the need to belittle any person's accomplishment? Couldn't you just say congrats? Or if you feel like it's not a good accomplishment, say nothing? Yeah. Like, what's the point of saying something to just make them feel like garbage, or like, oh, you think that's good? Well, let me just knock you down a few pegs because it's like, not that great.
We're like a family, and like, I feel like as an aunt to like little baby Zoe, I would be very proud of anything she did.
Right.
You know, I would be like, oh my God. And like, it's kind of like when Dad was like so proud of me when I got my master's.
Yeah.
And he was like, just like telling everyone. And he's like, why didn't you tell them? And I'm like, Dad, we've been talking for 2 minutes. Like, it just didn't really come up in conversation. Like, you know, but he was like so happy to just like brag about anything. And I'm like, Dad, it's like not a big deal. You're embarrassing me, you know? But I'm like, that's how parents should be. Like, because I don't know. I feel like you can always find something to celebrate in your kids. Or your other family members. Or honestly, just any person you know.
Even if it's just a person. And even if it's a thing that isn't an accomplishment. Like, but it's, if the person's proud of it, then it's an accomplishment to them.
Right.
So if, like, someone drew a straight line and they were never able to do that before, and they were like, look, I just drew a straight line, you'd be like, cool. Like, that's not impressive. Yeah. But if the person's excited, you're just like, oh, good job. Like, because obviously they're excited about it, and like, why? Like, I just literally do not understand like why anyone would feel the need to then like make someone
like,
feel
is it like
bad.
A jealousy thing? Like, I don't think so, but it's like, I can see how when something really good happens to someone, you might like feel jealous. But like, and of course I get jealous sometimes, but like, I think I'm able to sort of compartmentalize the jealousy and recognize like, ooh, that's not a good emotion, so I'm not going to engage with that feeling. And instead I'm just going to feel happy for this person. Like, you can entertain both ideas at the same time, and then just sort of recognize which one you want to pursue.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about feelings, I guess.
So part of it, I think, is like, we've talked about it before, and like with social sanctions, and just kind of, that's why, like, because it's like one thing, like, you're fine with it. But now, like, we have cousins who are in the teenage or whatever, and like, they might not be able to like handle it as much, or they might not be able to like bounce back from like stuff like that. And it's just like, like you said, it's family, and you should feel like you can trust those people to just be there for you and be supportive. So it's just weird. And I mean, I can't imagine him like, he would probably, like, honestly, he'd probably just stutter, and then not, like, he would stumble over his words, and then, like, not say anything, and then maybe he would think again before doing it. Like, he would never be like, you're right, I don't know why I do that. But also, like, it goes back to your point, like, we kind of just see it as, like, a him problem. Like, we're like, he's obviously lacking something that makes him want to act like that.
Right. Which I think
just
we talked
kind of,
about,
like,
too,
sad.
Like, in our toxic relationships episode of, like, just engaging in that, like, be dumb and happy, like, I'm not going to let that get to me, because it's like that has literally nothing to do with me.
I know. It just, for me, it's like,
we already talked about how you are incapable of not engaging with people.
I know, but also I'm very protective.
That's true.
So I've always been the person that stands up to bullies, but especially if you're like a personal friend or I mean, I do that with like random strangers. Like, if I see anyone being mistreated, I like intervene and like stand up for them.
Yeah.
But like, especially if there's someone I actually know and care about, like, I'm very much like, excuse me, no. And I'll like definitely want to say something. And And like, I would never, like, someone was suggesting to me, oh, you could like say something about him, and I was like, well, I was like, well, I'm not a hypocrite. Like, I was like, well, I would never do that. Like, I was like, I would literally just say, why do you do that? Why do you want to make someone feel bad? What's the purpose? And then he would just stutter and have no response because there is no good response to that other than I'm a dick. So it's kind of like, well, okay, at least you know.
Okay.
We all already knew that, but as long as you're self-aware.
So we'll be on the same page.
Sure. Anyway, so moving on. Then there's like the group level, which was just talking about like having a community that fosters like altruism and tolerance and like social responsibility and stuff like that is just kind of another aspect.
And did it say like acceptance and tolerance or just like tolerance? Because I know sometimes there's like differences between like, you know, just like tolerating something and then actually like accepting it.
True. But that could just be like a semantics that they weren't really thinking about.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what I mean, like, as I've gotten older, into the almost 30 years old range.
Start calling you grandma.
I like.
Wait, side note. This is actually later when we talk about our update with baby Zoe, but I'll just get into it now.
So why'd you even say it was later? This is later, but it's now. But it's also later.
Okay, fine. So we're just going to take a little detour and do update with baby Zoe. So she got to meet her favorite aunt, Jess, and she was really happy about it.
Second favorite.
And
aunt
then
with a J name.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Janine's better than you.
Anyway.
It goes Renee, Eileen, Tasha, Audrey, Nicole, Janine, Jess. That's the order of the favorites. Allison? Yeah. I don't know if they've met her yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. She probably loves us all equally and just recognizes us as one amorphous blob.
She's like, this one fed me. So we went on Sunday and Finn got to meet her and Tim. And Finn was just... I've honestly never seen something as cute as that in my life. It was so adorable.
I just feel like that's not true, but I've seen...
What have you ever seen that was cuter? Maybe when that kid was like, how much do you like it? Show me with your hands. And the other kid was like, this much. Like, that was really cute too. But like, it was literally so adorable. I gave him the boppy pillow so he could like hold her. And he's holding her. And he just loved her, and he's just, like, looking at her, and Renee's like, we're gonna go soon. He's like, no, I just need a few minutes. Then she got a little fussy, so we changed her diaper, and her dad made her bottle for her. And then I'm holding her, and he's feeding her. Finn is feeding her. And then we're burping her, like, halfway through her feeding, and I'm burping her, and he just, like, slips his hand under mine, and he's like, I got this. He just starts burping her while I'm holding her, and I was like, you're so cute. And
he's, like, really into babies.
And then, Renee was holding her after her feeding, then she gave her to Tim so that he could hold her for a bit. And then Finn, like, got the little boppy pillow again, and he was like, okay, I'll take her now. He was like, okay, that's enough, guys. My turn again.
I know. Well, I gave her to Tim because I was like, I could see Tim wanted to hold her, but I'm like, there's no way Tim's going to take her from Finn. So I was like, let me just do a little handoff here.
Yeah.
And it's like something really cute about like seeing your husband hold the tiny baby.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yes, this could be our future one day.
Well, then I said to Finn, doesn't it make you really want a little brother or sister? And he was like, yeah, I really do. Mm-hmm. And then he said that one good thing about being a lonely child. I was like, that's funny. Because I know he doesn't feel lonely. He's actually really good at playing by himself. But he was like, one good thing about being a lonely child is that on Christmas, all the presents are yours. And I was like, that's a good point.
There you go. See, that's that positivity. This is reframing his situation.
Yeah. Well, he always does.
Yeah, he's a sweet boy. But anyway, what I was saying was that the older I've gotten, the more I've adopted the live and let live philosophy. It's like, I honestly feel like I'm one of the least judgmental people I know. I just like really don't have judgments about basically any issue. Like, obviously, there's things that are, like, fundamentally wrong. Like, if you're, like, a Nazi or something, I'm going to dislike you. But when it comes to, like, relationships and, like, all the different permutations that could take, all kinds of open relationships, I have no judgments about that.
But, like, do you still have an opinion about it? Like, if there's, like, a relationship that's obviously not working and you see it and you could, like, have an opinion, like, oh,
yes, like,
maybe...
I would still say, like, you can see when there's healthy versus unhealthy relationships. But, like, if your relationship is working for you and it's actually working, like, meaning that both or however many people are involved are actually happy,
yeah,
then I have no problems with it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean... But can you also at least appreciate, like, when things are weird? Like, it always annoys me when people are like, there's no normal. And I was like...
I'm like, actually, have you ever taken statistics?
Yeah.
It's called a standard bell curve. It's like the definition of normal.
It's also called a normal curve.
Yeah. Like, there's a normalization, and then there's outliers. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with being weird.
Yeah,
but you can recognize,
exists.
like, it's extremely weird. Like, yes, there's definitely been times where I'm like, that was really weird. And I'm not saying that's a negative thing, but it's definitely abnormal.
I'm like, who thinks weird is bad? Like, I was like, or some people do, but I was like, obviously we don't. Like, we're very weird. Wait, so, side note, one of the teachers at the school where I'm at, she wants to dress up for Halloween, and she's like, let's do the periodic table.
Okay.
And we can each just, like, wear a t-shirt with, like, the elemental symbol on it.
Okay.
So then...
With just the symbol or the whole block?
Oh, yes, the whole block.
Okay.
So she's like, so then one of the teachers was like, I could be neon and I could just wear like a neon colored shirt and just be like neon. And then someone else was like, I could be carbon. And then another one was like, well, be careful. Don't put any like soot on your face. I was like, okay. And so stupid.
She thought she was going to put on blackface to be carbon.
But then I was like, well, they were saying she could be like diamond or something. So then I was like, I could be... I
thought you were just going to wear shirts that said C.
I know, that's what I thought too, but I guess they were saying like they could make the shirt like somehow related. So I was like, you could be like a heavy metal and like dress up like a heavy metal rocker. And then the one teacher was like, I can be helium.
That's kind of funny.
And she's like, I'm like, you have to do that now. She's like, no way. I can't even
oh my god, if you change
it, yeah. I know, but I was like, that's pretty cute though. I was like, maybe I will do that one year. Like, I'll be helium, and then like at least when my kids first come in, I'll like talk like that.
Oh, hi guys. Or there's like, I would say just get helium, but there's like a shortage of helium, so you can't even get it. I was like talking to my...
I heard it's not like really good for you to do that.
Well, duh, you heard. I mean, obviously it's not good to like breathe in random gases.
But anyway.
I talked to my chemistry colleague. It was actually funny. He's like, he was out because he had surgery, and I was covering his AP Chem class, and they're basically like, we just need a body in the room. Like, they're AP. They need to have all their stuff. So then the last day, we're like in a group chat, and he like had sent a problem, like, and then he was like, no one wanted to try my problem sad face, like 3 days later. And I was like, did any of you guys try the problem? Like, he seems like he's really excited about it. So then they like were working on it, and they like FaceTimed him, and they're like, do you think he'll answer? And it was like so funny how they talk about it, you know? And they're like, I don't know. And then they're like, he didn't answer. And they're like, oh. And then they're like, wait, he texted. And they're like, can we call you again? And he's like, yeah. So then they like FaceTimed, and they were like showing him the board and stuff. And I was like, you guys are such nerds, but it's really cute. But anyway, we were talking about...
I would never give any student my phone number.
We were talking about
AP students.
We were talking about like what gas we could use to like replace helium. I'm like, are there any other gases that we can like use for like filling up balloons, or will we just only have like Mylar balloons? We'll never actually have like floaty balloons anymore. And there weren't a lot of options that we could come up with.
Oh.
So.
Interesting.
There you go. I guess you could just heat up some air and put it in there, but it would only float for a little bit.
Yeah, not very long.
You use little hot air balloons all over your party.
True. Sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it's just like open flames everywhere.
We tried that with the Lantern Festival.
Yeah, I only like burnt someone's face off because I was like launching it, and it just like fell right on them. I was like,
everybody was doing that. It was like, watch out! And then people
we're like, oh, you turn, and then like ours was like got a hole burnt in the side, but it still worked. When like people were trying to chase us, I let mine go. I was like, oh shoot. But then I was like, oh, of course that's the one I wrote like everyone's name on.
To be able to find you.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, they're gonna know, like they're gonna look for the Middlesex crew.
Oh, which is so dweeby. Like, whenever I tell people about that, I'm like, yeah, it's really lame.
I just am like, yeah, we call ourselves the Middlesex Crew, and I own it because it's awesome. And actually, like, today at our PD, we were, like, looking at how to use, like, different Google Earth and, like, different maps and stuff. So I, like, made a map of, like, everyone's addresses, and I put little bird icons for all of the Middlesex Crew.
That's cute.
And I was like, oh, you can see, like, a lot of us are concentrated right here, and then there's, like, a couple of people off to the sides.
You said that to people? You had to...
I said it to myself.
Oh, I was like, you had to, like, present your map.
No.
You were like, this is the Middlesex Crew. They were like, okay.
And they were like, okay, freaks. Yeah. So, but I actually didn't put your name on it. Sorry, I just put like Eileen and JD's house. So you're not part of the crew anymore.
Wow.
Sorry.
That hurts me.
I know. Anyway, so
all by myself.
Okay, so was there anything else in the beginning part of this outline for positive psychology?
Yes. So we were talking about, like, we kind of touched on, it doesn't necessarily mean feeling, quote unquote, happy all the time. So not necessarily always feeling joy or always being happy. Like, you could be sad and still be overall happy. So it's really just kind of like really a lot about being optimistic and about, in general, having like a general sense of contentment with your life.
Like, I remember I think I might have mentioned this before. I'm pretty sure it's like Sex and the City movie, the original one. And they're like talking and they're like, yeah, but like nobody's happy every day. And Charlotte's like, well, I am. And I'm like, you are? And she's like, well, yeah, not like all day, every day, but yeah, I'm happy every day. And I was like, yeah, it's definitely me too. Like, I'm happy pretty much all the time. And I go through periods where I'm stressed, and obviously that's uncomfortable and can be frustrating. But, like, generally speaking, I'm pretty much happy every day.
Yeah.
Throughout most important parts of the day.
Stress is the worst.
It really is. It's the worst how it physically manifests.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what gets to me. I mean, I guess obviously, because otherwise it wouldn't really be so bad. You just feel like, oh, there's a thing I thought about. But yeah, like when you actually get like the pounding heart or like the tense muscles, and I grind my teeth, so that's
you just can't sleep, and then you're like,
can't sleep, and you're more tired, then like you become less productive, and then you get the cortisol, so you gain weight and whatever else. It's like a nightmare.
Yeah. Okay.
Stress stresses me out just thinking about it. Don't wheeze in me.
I can't. So we were going to talk about some ways that you can increase your happiness. So that's kind of the cool thing about it is there's exercises. So cognitive behavioral therapy is basically... Yep.
As it's known in the psychological community.
Yep, you're right. It's basically like saying that your feelings are controlled by your thoughts. So it's like, change your thoughts, you can change your feelings. And then your feelings.
That just reminds me of that Jeff Goldblum. Change your apartment, change the world. Change your thoughts, change your feelings.
And then your feelings affect your behavior. So then your behavior will be changed once you change your feelings about something. And you can change that by changing your thought. And you change your thought by, like Renee was saying, by reframing things. So I remember an example that one of my professors gave me was thinking about traffic. Mm-hmm. And saying, like, if you're in traffic and you just, like, think about how annoying it is and how you hate going so slow and you're going to be late for work, like, you're just going to, like, spiral into this, like, really negative frame of thought and, like, it's going to make you really angry and really stressed. But if you look at it from the other side and you're like, oh, now I get to listen to music for 30 more minutes or whatever, and you just kind of look at, like, a benefit from it, it will help you to focus on that. So that's a thing that you can do just to, like in any situation, if you find something that was positive or beneficial from it, that reframing can help you to just see things in a different light.
Right.
And that can be something that leads to, like, a more general sense of happiness or an increased general sense. Then there's other activities that you can do, like daily gratitudes.
Right.
And you can look up stuff about that. Like,
there's, like, journals and prompts and other things. Basically just, like, listing 3 things you're grateful about at the end of each day, and they usually want them to be like specific things, so
and
not
like more specific to that day. So instead of just be like, I'm grateful for my mom, be like, what did your mom do that day that you were like grateful for?
Yeah. And I'm grateful for food, but like I'm grateful for that delicious ice cream I had from Bent Spoon in Princeton.
An app that I had found that's really good for this is called 5 Minute Journal. I don't know if it costs money now. I don't know if they still do this, but at a time, like the Starbucks app would have every day or every week like a free app you could download.
Yeah.
And there'd usually be something that cost like a couple bucks, but it would be free. So it essentially has prompts like in the morning and in the evening. And there's different, you can set it up to have it prompt you for whatever you want to do. So like some of it could be goals for the day. At the end of the day, you could say like, what could I have done better? What was great about today? And then it would have like gratitudes. You could add a picture for each day. But it's just a nice way because it's like on your phone and it will just like, you can have it pushed to you. So it will prompt you in the morning to do it. And that's like a cool way to do it. Another thing you could do is you could have it linked to like your voice notes on your phone if you just wanted to have it be something you talk about.
Right.
Like to yourself while you're driving or something to work. And then it'd be an easy way to do it. But it's just nice to think about it. A lot of families also do it at like family dinners. Right. And they'll talk about it together. Another thing you can do is being mindful. So doing mindfulness activities, like obviously meditation.
Mm-hmm. Mindfulness Mondays. That's what we have at my school. Like have meditation during lunch.
Nice.
I'm trying to eat during lunch, but
mindfulness is like, I feel like really hot right now. So like positive psychology in general.
Yeah.
But meditation's really in. But even just like being in the moment and being aware of things and like
just like being
that
present.
Helps. Yeah. Sorry, I have this like weird chair and it's making a lot of noise. I wanted a different chair, but my production assistant didn't set it up the way I asked.
Yeah, because she's particularly needy. She could have just sat on the bed, but she needed back support.
You'll understand when you're older.
You're 2 years older than me.
Yep. Just wait.
You also don't have to like roll back and forth in your chair. Like you're moving around.
I can't help it. And that's why I move forward. I'm trying to sit up like this. Yeah. And then another thing, we had already kind of talked about like being reflective and also being accepting and like forgiving. So forgiving of yourself as well. But if
that's a toughie.
And if you're like really introspective and aware, like that does also help. Because if you're aware of yourself, you're going to be able to then move towards accepting yourself. Mm-hmm. And then you will avoid, like almost like surprising yourself with your flaws.
Yeah, like I'm a really bad procrastinator. And for a while, I combated it in college and undergrad. I was like really good about, I set up like habits for myself and I would like get it a week ahead in all my assignments in school. Like I would even read the textbook, actually read it before the lectures. So I was like ahead of everything, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's like, I'm right back to my procrastination ways. And it's like, I know I'm a procrastinator. I know it's extremely stressful for me the whole time I'm procrastinating. And then ultimately at the end when like I have to actually do whatever I need to do. And then I'm like, it always isn't that hard. Like if I had just done this. And it's like, how many times do I have to say to myself? And I like literally will be like, Renee, you're so stupid. Why did you wait so long? Like I'll literally say that to myself out loud sometimes. Like, Renee, are you serious with this procrastination again? But it's like, I can't help it. That's like, I would say my one major flaw in like, I don't know, in terms of like work ethic is like I just have terrible procrastination.
But you're not like delusional about it. I think that's the thing too.
No, it's like I know I'm doing
it. If you're aware,
I still do it.
Then like you can try to move forward.
Like, but what are you gonna do today? Oh, I'll probably just stay home and procrastinate on this work I have to do.
But even if it's like something that you can't change, it's something that you're working through. Like you can at least be forgiving of yourself while you're working through it.
Right, I guess.
Which will help.
If I were to set up actual steps to be like, okay, just do 10 minutes today and tomorrow. And then like, if I only did 5 minutes, I could be like, all right, at least you did 5.
I mean, another thing, now that I'm seeing those books over there, I realized that I left all those books that Mom was giving me at her house.
Awkward and totally random.
Oh, well. Another thing I was going to say that you could do.
Excuse you.
Renee, if you burp, you should say, excuse me.
I do. You burped, and I said, excuse you for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway. I don't even know where I was going. What were
Somewhere with books. Oh, we were talking about forgiving ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say regarding the procrastination. When I start teaching, if I'm only teaching and not like working after school, we could also get together after school and work.
Well, it's not so much about my actual teaching job because it's like I usually have enough time during the week to get that stuff done at work. It's more about like when I have outside work to do, like extra work, which I don't always have all the time.
Like your college?
yeah, or like when I have a curriculum writing to do, or like a report I have to submit or something, you know, that's not like really part of my everyday teaching stuff.
I see. Okay, interesting. Well, then I can't help you. Sorry.
I appreciate it, but thanks anyway.
You're just screwed. Okay, yeah. And then the last part of it, the last suggestion that we have for like increasing, at least that I've heard of and I guess used, is acts of kindness. Mm-hmm. So it's a thing that, like, doing good makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. For most people.
Yeah.
But so one thing that the presenter that we saw when we first kind of learned about this topic years ago, he suggested sending out emails to, like, thank you emails to people. And he's like, I started doing this, like, even with, like, teachers he had in high school. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he's like, I've actually basically reconnected with a lot of people this way. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool. So that was like something he said that was just like an act of kindness that was nice, and it was like a thing where you could just plan something every day, and it could be, and if he was like, an email is easy because like you're at your work computer anyway,
right?
You can just do it first thing in the morning, and then you feel good for the rest of the day, and then when you get the response, you feel good. So it's just like nice. So I was like, that's interesting.
And I like to do nice things for people, and even if it's just not even for a person, but like, I generally like pick up trash if I find it on the road, or like not like if I'm driving, but on the sidewalk or something. If I see trash, like I'll usually pick it up, and I always feel pretty good about it after, you know.
Yeah.
It's like something easy like that. It's like, okay, I just took like 2 seconds to kind of help make this place more beautiful than it was before, and that makes me feel good.
Nice. Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. Do you have anything you wanted to say before the commercial break?
Oh no, bye.
This week's podcast is brought to you by the Beefy Boys. Just 3 cool dudes hanging out, talking about sports, video games, music, and whatever else they feel like. Find them at their website, www.beefyboys.com. Also, where you find your other podcasts, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, you know, all the regulars. The Beefy Boys, the best show on planet Earth.
Okay, we're back.
Oh, sorry. Hi.
Sorry.
We're back. She didn't tell me, but here we are.
Well, yeah, we're back now. Okay. So, I think with the whole thing with positive psychology, there's this kind of idea or this movement for people to find their joy.
Finding your joy.
So sometimes, I don't know, like, how do you feel about it?
Sometimes I feel like it's really not authentic.
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like people will be like, I'm just finding my joy, but I'm like, but is that really your joy? Like, or...
Well, they're finding it. They don't know yet.
Yeah, I guess. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, to me, I guess in some ways it comes across as like really superficial. Like, is your joy only brought to you by like extrinsic factors? Like, shouldn't you be finding your joy internally? I don't know. And like, I don't feel like you necessarily need to go on some like grand adventure to find your joy.
Right.
Like, you should be able to find it in the everyday, because that's like where you live. Kind of like, you know how I always say like on The Bachelor, like when they all like fall in love with the guy, and I'm like, yeah, but because when you're like in this situation, you're going on these like insanely curated, super romantic dates. Like, anyone's gonna fall in love under those circumstances, but like that's not reality. Like,
yeah.
So then it's like, if anything, then you might come crashing down and realize like, oh no, I only found my joy when I was like, you know, I don't know, studying whales or something, like totally random. Like, when I was off doing this, and now that I'm here back in my normal life, like, I'm unhappy again. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think like it's interesting because I was reading an article like a while ago about all these kind of like this whole idea of like finding your joy, and it was like saying how it was marketing to like middle-aged, like kind of like
midlife crisis people,
upper middle class, like middle class or upper middle class, like housewives or like women who just feel like they're not really like
fulfilled.
Super happy or fulfilled. Yeah, and it was like, you can be fulfilled if you go on this like retreat that costs $10,000 and then like do all these things. So it's kind of like interesting because I think there's ways that you can do these things that are really cheap and that are really effective. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they're free and they're effective and backed by science and stuff, but like, Yeah, I think it's true. Like, part of it is it ultimately comes down to, like if you look at that one, the different levels, like, it comes down to, like, also being a part of something else and, like, caring about others. So I think it's, like, if it's just about you, and it becomes, like, selfish in a way.
Yeah, like, if your joy is, like, detracting from your responsibilities to others.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be able to pursue their passions. Like, I strongly believe that they should. And I believe that people should be supportive of their partners and of their family to go out and try the things that are important to them. But at the end of the day, like, your life isn't just about your happiness alone. At least that's how I feel. I feel like I'm an agent of my own happiness. But at the same time, like, I have a lot of other people who depend on me too. And, like, I'm a factor in their happiness also.
Right, and then also, like, it's interesting because it's kind of like, another thing I had read, it was like, parents, your kids don't have to be happy all the time, or your kids don't have to be doing exactly what they want to do all the time, which, like, sounds obvious, but it was, like, in reference to, like, planning vacations, which, first of all, some people don't even go on vacations, right?
Right.
But it was saying, like, it was like, the author was saying, when I was a kid, our parents just told us where we were going, and we just made the best of it, and we always had a good time because it was a vacation.
Right.
But it's like, nowadays, like, kids will be like, no, I don't want to go there, I don't want to do that, or I want to do this, and it's like, you don't have to make, it was basically saying, like, you don't have to make every single plan you make contingent upon what your kids want.
Right.
Like, you can just make decisions,
which I'm a strong proponent in,
and your kids will just figure it out, and it will actually help them to be more able to figure it out and to be more able to, like, appreciate different things.
And also, like, my philosophy is always this: there are things that, like, maybe as a family we all like to enjoy together. But also there's things that, like, my kid likes that I find excruciatingly boring. And there's things my husband likes that I don't enjoy. But, like, if it's something that's really important to that person, then we're all going to do it together as a family because it's making that person happy. And we love that person and we want that person to have a good time. So if that means that on a vacation we do one thing that the husband wants and one thing that I want and one thing that the kid wants, you know, even if we necessarily wouldn't have picked those on our own, like, we're still going to go and we're still going to have a good time because you should engage in the things that make the people you love happy, I feel. To an extent. Like, you don't need to, like, if it's, like, a hobby, you don't need to, like, do it all the time.
Yeah.
But at least, like, show an interest or try to learn about it. Yeah. And I also just very much, feel like there's no reason, like, a 5-year-old should be making the decisions for the family. Like, I'll make the decisions as the parent, and then I'm going to do things that you like. Because I think, I don't know, especially with, like, Finn, he's, like, he is very positive, but he will at times be like, I don't want to do this is boring. And I'm like, I know you're going to like it if you just go. And then when we go, he's like, oh, that was so great. And I'm like, see? I'm like, when will you learn to trust me? Like, I'm not going to take you to boring things or, like, terrible things. I'm only going to take you to exciting, cool stuff. Yeah. But if you never give it a chance, then you're not going to even know that you like it.
Plus, he, like, likes most things. Yeah, but it takes him a minute to, like, realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And the other thing, too, I think is, like, part of it is, I guess this is just, like, to realize that you have, like, there's certain obligations that you should fulfill that, like, sometimes it's not the most fun. Like, so, sure, maybe you don't love going to, like, this one family member's house for a holiday or something. But, like, you do it because, like, they want to see you and, like, you're a good, like, sibling or nephew or whatever, or granddaughter or whatever. And it's just, like, and that's sometimes, like, part that I guess gets lost because, like, some parents are just like, well, they don't want to do that so they don't have to, but it's like, okay, but then also teaching them that, like, sometimes they do things they don't want to do for another person's benefit.
And, like, obviously we've talked about, like, body ownership and stuff like that, so we're not saying, like, in that regard, like, if there's a very legitimate reason why, like, they don't like this person, like, if the person
they don't have to be touched by them, but they could
but
still,
even
like,
saying not touch, like, if there's, like, a legitimate reason, like, if this family member is, like, verbally abusive or something, there's, like, a reason they don't want to go, that's, like, legitimate as a concern for their safety or well-being, okay. But if it's just, like, boredom. Oh, I think that's boring, and I don't really want to do that, but, like, oh, but your grandma really wants to do this, and, like, it's really important to her, so, like, just humor her, like, just go and try to have a good time. And, I don't know, we definitely learned that a lot as kids, and obviously even, like, with getting gifts, like, I don't know if we've even talked in here about, like, the ugly clothes we got sometimes as kids, but, like, you know, we got stuff and we didn't always love it, and, like, we would always wear it and be very poised and be very graceful about it, you know? Mm-hmm. because we were just like, this is what it is. Like, yeah, sometimes you get like an ugly shirt, but you wear it because the person who gave it to you wants you to see you in it or whatever. Like, you can just be grateful that you got anything, and it's going to make them feel good. And also, like, at the end of the day, who really cares if you wore an ugly shirt one day of your life?
Right.
Like, it really doesn't matter.
That's true. So yeah, I mean, I think that's mostly all we have for this topic. Like, it's definitely something to look into. It's something, I mean, it's also like I get that it's hard because, like, people can be, like, clinically depressed, or they can have physical, like, psychological or physical, biological reasons.
Oh, remember that thing you told me, that study you read about? That was, like, when people have a huge, major, life-altering event, whether it's positive or negative. Didn't you tell me about this?
Oh, well, it was, like, in a show. I didn't actually read a study. The guy said in the show that he had read a study. I don't know if it's actually based on a study, but it sounds like it, I guess.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I can't remember. I was like, I think you told me about this. So basically, you were saying that, or the show said, and who knows if it's true. We'll have to fact check this later. But they said, like, when you have some major life-altering event, be it, like, a really positive, like, winning the lottery, like, a significant amount of money, or a negative, like, getting in an accident that causes you to become, like, a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, it's, like, immediately your happiness levels are going to peak or dip. But then after some amount of time, you're going to return back to, like, your base level happiness, which is what everyone has, their own base level happiness. And then, like, some people's is much higher than others, but it's really not circumstantial. There are certain, like, circumstantial factors that will affect it, but ultimately, like, you're going to get back to that base. So it's kind of goes to show that if this study is true, if this is a real thing, which I feel like is true, like, you've ever have been through a bad experience. Yeah, but then doesn't that kind of negate
everything we've just talked about?
I don't know. Maybe by doing the positive psychology, you can increase your base level of happiness.
I think that's
kind of the goal. So it's saying, like, oh, just getting a great job isn't going to make, if you're, like, really unhappy in life, just getting a great job is not going to make you happy. Well, right? Like, it might make you happy in the moment, but then, like, whatever it is that's causing your discontentment is going to continue. But if you focus on reframing your perspective, you can bring up that base level of happiness, and then it doesn't matter if you have a great job or an okay job or no job, because, like, you just have a higher level to begin with.
Well, that's the other thing too, is that's another aspect of it, that an old model would be success will bring happiness, but they actually realized, well, not really. Like you said, you're going to eventually just be, like, back where you were, but that happiness actually does breed success.
Right.
So if you work on these things to actually, like you said, reframe and become overall more happy, then it would lead to more success. It's shown.
And then some other things, like, on that vein that I read about too, we're just talking about, like, how you can utilize positive psychology, like, in the workplace. So, like, obviously just, like, making your staff feel really valued, and, like, ways in which you can increase productivity, even if they might seem, like, on the surface to actually be counterproductive, like giving people more time off, or, like, being more flexible with hours, like, things that traditionally wouldn't be considered, like, a good business model. Mm-hmm. But they realized, oh, if we do this, it, like, increases productivity so much that even if people are only working for 5 hours a day, their output is so much better. And I think, like, a lot of people are kind of realizing that too. Like, work-life balance is so much more important now in American culture. So, like, that probably is part of it too.
Mm-hmm. True. So, yeah, I think it's hard sometimes because it's like with a person who has anxiety disorder. Right. You can't just say, like, relax or calm down or don't worry, because it's like they can't
physically can't
it. Yeah. So it's also tough, I think, when talking about this with people who are clinically depressed or something like that, because they might feel like you're
kind of diminishing
it. Right. But I don't think that's the case. I just think it can actually help anybody, even a person who is clinically depressed. And, like,
I mean, when you have clinical depression, you do a lot of times go for cognitive behavioral therapy. So, like, you probably have engaged with similar type actions to this in traditional therapies. Now it might just be some different approaches, but same ideas. Like, you're still, when I was, like, diagnosed with depression and I went to CBT, it was the same. Like, my therapist would give me, like, little homework assignments of, like, things I had to try that week, you know? Yep. So it would just be the same. It's like, keep a journal of something that made you happy today, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But obviously it's much harder if you have a physical limitation like that.
Right. And I think it's, so, I mean, it is tough. And then But it is also good to be, like, intentional. So you can't just think, like, oh, it'll be fine. But it's like you have to be intentional about making a change.
Yeah, you have to choose happiness.
Right. So now we have a new segment, and it's formally known as Weight Watchers.
No, formally. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, formally. Not formerly.
Yeah. Formally.
It's so dumb. So Renee and I have done Weight Watchers for a long
15 years.
time. Not 15.
Almost.
I started when I was like 18. So it's been 14 years.
Okay, so basically 15 years.
Anyway, so
We've both had success.
Yeah, we've had success and setbacks. So, anyway, I've been weighing in, and so we're having a new segment where I will announce my current status. Yeah, my progress. This segment makes me chuckle because Weight Watchers is no longer called Weight Watchers. It's now called WW, which is just, like, so idiotic to me. I don't understand.
It just makes you think of, like, WWE or something.
Yeah, right? And, like, it just says, like, WW, and then it says, like, formerly, right?
Formerly.
Yeah, formerly Weight Watchers or whatever.
So
like, it says that, like,
so its name is, like, the program formerly known as Weight Watchers, like, the artist formerly known as Prince, and then they'll probably just go back to being Weight Watchers.
It's really weird. Oprah bought them, so I guess she was, like, not into...
Let's rebrand it.
Yeah. WW.
Like, I just don't get it. Like, when you're, like, a company and you have a name, and then most people just call you by a nickname. You don't then have to make that your name. Like
Dunkin'.
Yeah, you don't have to just be Dunkin'. Like, you can still be Dunkin' Donuts. Like,
yeah, you can
like,
just,
it's really weird. I'm like,
just go by your nickname.
You can have a nickname.
Yeah.
I don't understand. That's really bizarre.
It's really weird.
But whatever.
Like, the Y did it, but they still are called YMCAs. So it's not like it's not called the YMCA. It's still called, like, the YMCA of whatever.
Right.
But
they
their
go by
brand
the Y.
is the Y. But that's because, like, people always would call them the Y, and it's, like, fine. So you changed your logo.
That's how you know, like, people who are Y people and who are not. Because, like, if they didn't know about the Y, they'd be like, oh, the YMCA. And you're like, it's called the Y.
The Y? What are you saying? What is that? What's the Y?
What's your Y? That's, like, a thing in teaching a lot, too. Find the
What's
Y.
your Y? That's your thing in Weight Watchers, too. I'm sorry, in WW.
We did that, like, teacher was like, find your why, and now we're on find your how, because we finished find your why.
For what?
For teaching. So, like, last year we had to focus on finding our why. Now we're focusing on finding our how. Why do we teach? Now, how are we going to be effective teachers?
Everyone does that. People who've been there for 40 years, like, I guess I should think about why I'm doing this.
Yes.
Okay.
It's part of our Vision 2020. Okay. But it's almost 2020. So now it's
get there.
Now they changed it to something else.
What's your how? It's like, whoops. I don't know.
Like, oh, I was supposed to be doing something all this time. No, I mean, obviously you have to do professional development as a teacher, so whatever.
Okay, so anyway, the point is I'm down 21 pounds from my starting weight, which I think that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, but how much this
I think
week?
I've lost about like 12 pounds since like midsummer.
Nice.
Midsummer.
That's basically 2 baby Zoes.
True. So we'll see. And yeah, I was down like 4 pounds this week. So we'll see how I go next week, and hopefully I keep it up. Hopefully I keep it down.
Eventually I'll start again. Yeah, that's the other thing they say at Weight Watchers. We'll see less of you all next week.
But
yes, it's so cute. I mean, at WW. Well, I don't know if they say it at WW. I haven't been since they've transitioned.
I don't even know. I haven't really been to the meetings. I don't know what they say. It's weird.
Well,
I feel like they just say the program. Because, like, people feel stupid being like, WW. It's just so wordy. Like you said, it's like a nickname shouldn't be, like, more syllables than the original.
Yeah. Weight Watchers, 3 syllables. WW, that's like 6 syllables. That's just too many syllables.
Yeah, it's too many. It's too wordy.
Yeah.
They'll just call it whoa, whoa.
Whoa, whoa. Yeah, who knows?
So, what's popping at the movies?
Nothing really.
Popping at the movies.
Why are you so weird? Okay, so we didn't see a movie. We've been really bad about using our movie pass, but we're going to see a movie this week. We're going to see
Jexy.
Jexy. which is really weird.
It looks interesting.
Yeah.
So
we'll have
see.
something to talk about next week.
Yep.
Did you watch any recent movies? I mean, I've just been watching a lot of TV because my TV shows are back, but no real movies I've watched recently. I did watch a movie,
but I can't remember what movie it was. I don't know. I'm talking like that.
Don't cry about it.
I remember. I watched the Between Two Ferns movie.
Oh, was it good?
Yeah, it was funny.
I haven't watched it. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, you should. Oh, I don't know. I'll tell you this later. I don't know if I want to say it on the podcast.
Sorry, listeners.
Okay, so you can check us out on our website, which hasn't been updated in months.
Cats. Meow. Check us out.
I'm a cat. Meow. Check meow. Say check meow. It's weird to say check us out because it doesn't make a meow.
Did I say check us out?
Oh, so are you on a fantasy football league?
No. What? Why would you even ask me that? Of course I'm not. Unless, like, my fantasy football league would be, like, if it was, like, Disney characters playing football. But by football, I just mean, like, having a tea party.
Okay.
That would be a fantasy for me.
Yeah, because, like, the teachers I work with, they're all, like, in a league. But some of them, like, don't really, like, know about football.
Yeah.
So they're just, like, I guess
so they just randomly pick people?
Yeah.
Which is, like whatever.
I guess the Eagles lost last night, but, like, even though they lost, apparently Carl Wentz is still, like, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Well, yeah, because the way the fantasy points is, like, weird. They don't, like, necessarily align to wins or losses. It just has to do with, like, how the individual player plays.
I don't know. Would you ever do it? You wouldn't?
I don't even have cable.
Do we want to seem cool? Okay.
No, I don't. Oh, first of all, when have you ever known me to be someone who wants to seem cool?
Really? Look at what you're wearing. You're obviously wearing that to look cool in front of me. Because you know I love tie-dye.
Anyway.
Okay, anyway.
So no, I haven't thought about doing a fantasy league. I have no interest. I don't know anything about it. It seems like a lot of time thinking about something else that just I don't have room for my brain. And I don't really care about, so.
Okay, that's fair. All right.
Are you going to do one?
No, I don't know. If I end up working at that school, maybe.
Just to fit in? Just be who you are.
Well, maybe
I don't even recognize you anymore.
Maybe just because, like, it's a fun thing to do with coworkers. Some of them don't like bowling, so I was like, we could go bowling, and then someone was like, I hate bowling, and I was like, what? And then in the PD today, they're like, we don't even know, like, these teachers in other school, and I was like, bio bowling day, and they were like, no. I was like, you guys suck. Anyway.
Yeah.
You can also check us out on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube at Deerfoot Sisters, or on Facebook, facebook.com/DeerFeetPodcast. Check us out. We're going to be out there in the interwebs.
Also, remember to give us a 5-star review. And most importantly, tell a friend to listen so we can up those plays.
For every friend that you tell, we will send you one air high five.
For every friend that you tell who listens to the podcast, we'll have one more listener. Just so you know.
Okay. We are the Deerfoot Sisters, and we're prancing away.
Bye.